Alrighty, in today's video, I want to talk about the Mavic 3 Pro from a real estate perspective. I want to talk about why I've officially switched over to using this full time, and why, if you ask me today what drone I recommend for real estate photography, I'm going to recommend the Mavic 3 Pro. Let's get started. What's good, everybody? Ken here. You're watching Original Dobo. In today's video, I just want to have a conversation about my thought process behind switching over to the Mavic 3 Pro when it comes to real estate videography and photography. A couple of months ago, if you would have asked me what drone I would have recommended for real estate videography and photography, I probably would have said the Air 2S because it has a 1-inch sensor, good quality, it's small, it's quiet, and it's relatively affordable. But now if you ask me, I think the best choice, the best option for real estate photography is going to be the Mavic 3 Pro. Now, the reasoning behind this is the fact that we have 3 different lens options to choose from. Of course, the Mavic 3 had 2 lens options, but that telephoto lens, that 166mm lens, was never really all that refined, and I never felt like the quality of those images were that amazing. But having used this for over 2 months now, 3 months technically since I've had it early, I gotta say, it totally changed my perspective when it comes to filming houses. So I'm gonna show you some examples of the photos I've taken over the past few months because I've used this every single shoot for the past 3 months. So prime example, I was filming and photographing a house on the river. Now the river has all these side canals that sort of jet off, and that's where you have properties. I was working with the client for an Airbnb. And the client wanted me to really isolate the house. They didn't want to see the neighbor's properties in the shot. They wanted me just to focus on the Airbnb that I was photographing. And the one thing I love about this camera system is the fact that I can put all the focus directly on the house. Now, if we look at this image and then we flip over to the wide image, you can obviously see the difference, like there's more focus and you can definitely feel the compression in the background on this house. And I think it gives a really dynamic look. When I flip over to the canal shot, you can just tell like the canal shot that I shot with the 70mm lens is much more dreamy. It's just got this really interesting look that you can't get with the wide angle lens. And I think this is something that a lot of people have made mistakes on in real estate. They just get so hell-bent on this wide look that they forget that you can get a lot of nice detail shots using a tighter focal length. So that's where that 70mm lens really comes into play. Now, when I start filming and doing video, I've been incorporating this 70mm lens. And actually, before this drone ever even came out, I was releasing real estate videos with shots from the 70mm lens in the video. Now, I can't say that anybody ever pointed out the difference in the focal length. I bet you now, if you go back and look at the release date and look at the video, you can probably tell and be like, oh yeah, I see it now. I see the difference in the lens. You weren't just cropping in. But I bet at the time, many people probably thought it may have been the 166mm, or maybe you just didn't notice at all. But I know for me specifically, being able to isolate a house is really super important. And you may ask yourself, why would you want to do that? Well, sometimes you may be filming a property that has got a lot of tree coverage and you want to really put emphasis on that singular property that you're photographing. Or you may be dealing with a home that is in not so good of an area, or maybe the homes around that property aren't up to snuff. I can think of one house in particular I was filming in Tampa where it wasn't in the best of areas, and the houses near that property I was filming weren't really like modernized. So putting focus and just really isolating that house helped me with the video and helped me make the video look so much more dynamic because you didn't see any of the properties near the home we were filming. So using that 70mm focal length really helped me drive that point home. And then being able to take photos of that house and once again, really put the focus on the property that I was shooting was pretty nice. The other nice thing about having that 70mm focal length is you can do detail shots. If you watch any of my real estate videos, you'll notice that I'm always doing very tight macro detail style shots. And those shots used to be limited to just ground shots. But now I can do those very same detail shots from the air. So I can get these nice pull away shots or these reveal shots with the Mavic 3 Pro from the air, which is something you couldn't do before. So those are 2 main reasons why I've switched over to the Mavic 3 Pro. having lens options is just fantastic. Now, it's not all great because there are some drawbacks to the Mavic 3 Pro and having that 70mm lens. Drawback number one is that there is not a full D-Log version on that 70mm lens. So you have D-Log M, and D-Log M has been somewhat challenging in my eyes. I've not been able to really match up the colors to D-Log fully. I can get close, but I can never really fully catch the grade correctly. Exposing for D-Log M is also sometimes a bit challenging. D-Log M seemingly does not like to be overexposed. And if you do overexpose it, it's just going to be like by 0.03 stops, not really a full stop overexposed. You want to be like maybe just under a full stop, like 0.7 or 0.3. There are some decent technical LUTs. I use a very specific LUT made by Joe Faramulo, and I do this so I can keep some sort of continuity between my color grades. That's just a personal preference on me, but more recently, I've actually just stopped filming in D-Log M for my 70mm shots. I actually just use the standard color profile, and what I do is try to move the hues of the profile around on the standard profile to match my lookup tables that I'm using for the rest of my color grade. And for the most part, it does work. I do notice the skies tend to be like more of this turquoise aqua blue, which is a little bit weird, but usually I can reel that back in and it doesn't band or break apart too badly. So that is a downside. The other downside is sometimes you will get some camera shake from this lens specifically just because you're at such a tight focal length. And if you get any wind, you will get camera shake. That is something that you have to contend with. So to deal with those issues, I do add a little bit of warp stabilizer on my shot in order to get that to where I'm not getting the camera shake. And then there's the third thing is when you're trying to actually do some of these tighter parallaxing shots, sometimes you get disoriented because you don't see how far you are away from the object versus the way the drone is moving. And sometimes you can just be moving the controls in a very awkward fashion, and it leads to problems in the video, and it also leads to shakier than normal videos. So those are some things that you just have to contend with when you're filming at a tighter focal length. But overall, if you're going to buy a drone today, I really can't recommend the Mavic 3 Pro enough when it comes to real estate photography and videography. Having multiple focal lengths is going to separate your imagery from somebody else's. And, you know, whether or not an agent really notices it or not, I think subconsciously they notice something is different. And the fact is you can make things seem closer than they actually are with the 70mm lens, like houses versus cities, like in the backdrop, everything is compressed and brought in closer, which I think gives it a very unique perspective that I, for one, really love. And it's been really the first zoom lens that I've really been like embracing and using on a consistent basis. Even well after the review videos were done, I've still been using the zoom lens, which is sort of weird because like I said, I've never been a fan of it, never found myself using the Explorer lens, but the 70mm lens, the quality is just so damn good. It makes me want to use it and it gives me like more flexibility. But anyways, I just wanted to share my thoughts over using this for the past 3 months or so. So there you go. If you have any questions or you want to know more, or maybe if you want me to maybe upload some of this real estate sample footage so you can play with and make a decision yourself, let me know in the comments. I'll be more than happy to help. I'll see you in the next video. As always, stay original.